Welcome to the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. Week 2 is history, and now we move on to week number 3 of the GHSA regular season. And the countdown continues to the debut of the 2025 GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia schedule. Our season will kick off on Friday, September 5th, as the defending 3A state champion and second-ranked Calhoun Yellow Jackets take on the 4A and second-ranked Cartersville Purple Hurricanes, which is one of the great rivalries here in the state of Georgia. Join Wayne Gandy, John Nelson, and me every Friday night on GPB starting next week all the way through the state championships at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Really looking forward to getting that started. In the meantime, coming up on this week's podcast, we'll talk to McEachern head coach Kareem Reid. His Indians are off to an incredible season start here in his third season with the program, and we'll talk about the why behind all that. Also coming up on the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast this week, we'll take a look at the 5 biggest stories of the season's first 2 weeks, recap my rankings in each of the state's 8 classifications, get you caught up on the latest recruiting news around the state, and look ahead to the biggest games to keep your eyes on this weekend. Like, follow, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube this week or listening on Apple, iHeart, or Spotify. Please share with a friend. Let's first start the podcast with my players of the week, and we'll begin with my team of the week, and it's the McEachern Indians. They improved to 2-0 in the season with a convincing 21-0 shutout of previously 6th-ranked North Cobb. Running back Henry Pullen rushed for 223 yards, scored 2 touchdowns on the ground, and also caught a 42-yard touchdown pass. Defensively, McEachern sacked Warriors quarterback and 2027 Notre Dame commit Teddy Gerard twice, intercepted him twice, and McEachern is my team of the week. And we'll be talking to head coach Kareem Reid coming up here in just a couple of minutes. My quarterback of the week goes to Noonan's Brody Campbell. The 6'3", 185-pound junior set the Cougars' single-game passing record, going 27 for 45 for 516 yards and 4 touchdowns in Noonan's historic 60-56 comeback win over county rival East Coweta. The numbers he put up are amazing. The comeback that it produced, even more so. Noonan was down 49-24 in the third quarter and down 56-39 with 5 minutes to play before exploding for 21 points to win the game. So Brody Campbell is my quarterback of the week. My wide receiver of the week should come as no surprise, was one of Campbell's top targets in this game. Sophomore wideout John Matthews, who had 9 catches for 257 yards and 1 touchdown. Matthews is a 2028 3-star wide receiver who already has 6+ offers, including Georgia State, Auburn, and Georgia. My running back of the week and overall player of the week is Hebron Christian's Devon Caldwell, who had 328 yards rushing on 29 carries and 4 catches for 102 yards receiving and 4 total touchdowns in the Lions' 45-29 win over Fellowship Christian. Caldwell committed to Mercer right before the start of the season. My offensive line of the week goes to the Grayson Rams in the defending 6A state champions 24-19 win over Rabun Gap. The Rams' offensive line helped Grayson roll up 578 yards of total offense, 195 in the air, and 383 on the ground. So you're asking yourself, as was I, how is this game so close? Well, the Rams turned the ball over 3 times and botched a punt, but the Rams' offensive line and defense bailed them out in this battle of nationally ranked teams. Flipping over to the defense, my defensive lineman of the week is Walker Hudson of Ware County. The 6'1", 220-pound senior had a monster game in the Gators' 24-14 win over Coffee. Hudson had, get this, 23 total tackles, 14 solo, 6.5 TFL, and 2 quarterback sacks, and he now leads the state in tackles through the first 2 weeks of the season. My linebacker of the week is the Energizer Bunny, and I'll explain that in just a moment, and that is West Forsyth senior Drew Davis. He had 8 total tackles, 6 solo with 2 TFL and 1 interception in the Wolverines' 31-17 win over Marietta. Those are good defensive numbers, but the context of those numbers is also why he's the linebacker of the week. He had 233 yards rushing on 21 carries and 3 touchdowns on top of what he did on defense. He never comes off the field and never plays less than 100%. I saw him a couple of weeks ago in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. He is the Energizer Bunny. My defensive back of the week goes to Creekside safety Carter Jamison. He had 10 total tackles, a quarterback sack, 2 TFL, and 2 PBU as the Seminoles went on the road to Florida and slammed the door on Seminole High School. That's the state's 4th-ranked team in 7A. My special teams players, my kicker of the week is Elijah Fry of Norcross, a Coles kicking 4.5-star kicker and punter. Fry bombed a 51-yard field goal in the Blue Devils' 45-28 win over Mill Creek. He was also 7 of 8 touchback on his kickoffs and had 4 punts for a 36.5-yard average. My returner of the week also comes from the Norcross Blue Devils. It's senior safety wide receiver Chase Huff, who had 240 yards in kick and punt returns, including a 59-yard punt return touchdown on top of his 10 total tackles, 6 solo with 4 PBU. And my punter of the week is Milton's Kieran Meenan, who had 3 kicks for a 48-yard average, all 3 of his kicks inside the 20-yard line in the Eagles' road victory at the First Academy in Orlando. Like, follow, share, subscribe to the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast on YouTube, Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. Here's a look at my rankings recap for the week, and I won't go through all of the rankings. And you can find them all on Twitter at Matt Stewart TV or on my Facebook page at Matt Stewart Sports. And I invite you to follow both of those to get all the latest news that I have to offer over the course of the week. In 6A, Grayson remains number 1. The big movement here, McEachern up to number 6, and North Cobb drops to number 9. In 5A, Thomas County Central remains number 1. Roswell jumps in there at number 9, and Coffee drops out. In 4A, North Oconee still a solid number 1. Ware County jumps in there all the way up to number 6, following that win over Coffee. And Central Carrollton debuts at number 7. They had a big win at Oxford, Alabama. Benedictine drops to number 9, but they played an extremely tough schedule, and I like them a lot. They lost at Colquitt County week 1 on a last-second field goal, then lost to Buford this past week. So I think Benedictine, even though I have them number 9 this week, following these first 2 losses, they're very much a state championship contender in my book in 4A. Jonesboro and Ola dropped out of the 4A rankings. In 3A, Sandy Creek is still number 1. Some minor shuffling in those rankings with Cherokee Bluff, Peach County, and LaGrange all making gains. 2A, Carver Columbus, number 1. They're not budging anytime soon. Rockmart fell from number 2 after their big loss to Cartersville, with everybody bumping up, and now Carver Atlanta is at number 2. Stevens County jumps in there at number 10. In 1A D1, Toombs is still number 1, defending state champs. Rabun County moved up to number 7 after knocking out Fannin County, and Swainsboro checks in at number 10. In 1A D2, Lincoln County number 1 for the second straight week. Got some newcomers at the bottom of the top 10 in the 1A D2 with Seminole County, Charlton County, and Tryon all check in at 8, 9, and 10. In the private rankings, Savannah Christian remains number 1, but Hebron Christian is really close, and so is Prince Avenue at 2 and 3. I see the private rankings there at the top, especially the 1, 2, and 3 teams. That is wide open, could be anybody, and Hebron Christian maybe has looked more impressive than anybody, but more on them coming up in just a few moments. Like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. Feel free to comment as well on those platforms, or you can always hit me up on X at Matt Stewart TV or on my Facebook page at Matt Stewart Sports. Now for my top 5 stories of the week. Number 5, the revival of the Story Noonan Cougars program, off to a 2-0 start for the first time since going 9-2 in 2020. Couple that with last season's 9-3 second-round finish, and Coach Chip Walker's Cougars have won 11 of their last 14 games after going 10-20 over the previous 3 seasons before that. And this past Friday night's historic 60-56 comeback win over East Coweta is evidence to me this team is different. They've scored 117 points in the first 2 weeks of the season. Number 4, Norcross 2-0 under new coach Corey Richardson. Not extraordinary news here, but you just never know how a program is going to react after changing coaches for the first time in a quarter century. It helps that Richardson had been on Coach Keith Malou's staff for most of that time, and Friday's win over Mill Creek was perhaps a signal everything is going to be okay with the Blue Devils. It snapped a 4-game losing streak to the Hawks and was just the second win over Mill Creek dating back to Norcross's 2013 state championship season. Number 3, Hebron Christian, defending state champions in the private class and looking very much like they could repeat, and doing it with a new coach. Again, not shocking news that the Lions haven't missed a beat, but after Jonathan Guest left Hebron to go back to his home of Greenville, South Carolina, after leading the Lions to their first state title in the program's 16-year history, Coach Kenny Dallas came in from Trinity Christian. He had been on guest staff at Eagles Landing Christian and been their defensive coordinator for a couple of state championships. So Kenny comes in from Trinity Christian, where he won a state title in 2021. He played for 2 others there. Hebron currently number 2 in my rankings, but like I said just a few moments ago, they easily could be number 1 in my book there. Number 2 on my top 5 stories list is Grayson. Defending 6A state champions, have won 16 straight, and they take on Alabama number 1 Thompson this weekend. More on that a little bit later on. This is where it all started for the Rams last season after they were upset by Collins Hill in their opener in 2024. Coach Santavius Bryant took his team on the road and beat Thompson on national TV, winning on a 2-point conversion in overtime. Now they've got Thompson back at their place this Friday night. The Rams are looking very formidable. And number 1 on my list of top 5 stories to start the season is McEachern. The Indians are winning like the state power that they used to be and now maybe on their way to being again. They blasted Walton in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic and then shut down North Cobb this past Friday night. They've beaten the best 6A teams that Cobb County has to offer. And Marietta this Friday night is another big rivalry game for them, but they should be strong favorites in that game. After that, Hillgrove in October might be the only team standing between McEachern and an undefeated regular season.
This time he will kick it deep. Will be returnable, though, for Barner there on the left side.
He's got a wall if he gets to it.
He's got a block.
I'm telling you.
He's across midfield.
Special teams.
Casey Barner cutting back left. He's going to go all the way. 95 yards for a touchdown.
Time now to welcome in McEachern head coach Kareem Reid. Coach, thanks a lot for being with us, and congratulations on the 2-0 season start.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Excited for the start and looking forward to keeping it rolling.
Well, the 2-0 start, it's the best start you've had now, and this is your 3rd season at McEachern. In fact, you know, your first season, you guys started out 0-4 and then rebounded from that. And last year, you started out 0-2 and rebounded from that. What have you seen from your team here at the start of this season that's been different from your first 2 seasons as the Indians head coach?
I think we're just a mature bunch that this is now year 3 for the guys that have been in the program since we gotten here. I think conceptually they understand what we're trying to get done on offense, defense, and special teams. Everyone kind of understands the expectation, the standard that we have for practice and the intensity that we're looking for on a day-to-day basis. So it's just a culmination of a lot of long nights, long days of just building this thing and trying to get everything in order. And now you're seeing the results come to fruition.
Is this what you saw in your previous stops as a head coach at Westlake and Griffin, that although I know you had success initially there at Westlake, but that you felt like the imprint of your signature on the program came there in that 3rd season at Westlake?
You know, every job is different. So this job is different from the Westlake job because when I took over Westlake, they were a really good team. They went 10-3 the year before I got there. And so the foundation was already set. Coach Love did an amazing job of really getting those guys coached up. They understood football. And we had a lot of really good players already in the program. So I didn't have to come in and fix a whole lot. I actually adjusted to what they knew and what they did. And I just made minor tweaks and adjustments here and there to kind of get us to that next level. This job was different because the cupboard wasn't as full, right, player-wise. When you look at, I inherited A.J. Terrell over there and Jaden Hunter, who went on to play at Georgia. Here, I didn't have those type of players initially, and so we really had to modify a few things in terms of their agility, mobility, things like that in the weight room. Just what we did schematically, right, was totally different as a defense. We're a little bit more aggressive now than they have been in the past, and so it took a little bit of a while for the players to understand what we're trying to do there. Offensively, we had to adapt to the talent we had there also. So it was a different job than the previous ones I've had. And I knew it was more of a rebuild and would have to get it back to where it was and what it's always been as McEachern.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. McEachern's had a long, great history of success here in the state, and it looks like you're on track to getting that program back to where it has been. Henry Pullen, who had the huge game for you on Friday night against North Cobb, told some reporters after that game that McEachern is on the map. I don't know whether you would agree with that or not, but the fact that you've beaten basically in their first 2 weeks the quote unquote best that Cobb County has to offer in Walton and North Cobb certainly looks like that statement kind of rings true.
Yeah, I leave that up to the media to decide whether we're back or not. I know for us, we're just trying to be the best versions of ourselves every single day. I want to go out and have great practices Monday through Thursday, and then go out and perform on Friday night and let the results kind of take care of themselves.
What does it mean for your program and your players as far as reinforcing the message of what you're trying to do on a daily basis to be able to go out and beat two teams that, last, I'd say 5-6 years, they've been the class of this county in Walton and North Cobb, and to be able to beat them the way you've beaten them?
Oh no, I mean it definitely is a confidence booster. It's a great litmus test to see how far we've come, right, and where we're at, and how far we want to go as well. And so, no, it definitely feels good. I like playing quality opponents. I don't like playing cupcake schedules, because I believe that gives you fool's gold, right? I want to play teams that when you're wrong, they make you pay, right? And so that's why we go out and we schedule Kell in the spring and then Gainesville for the fall scrimmage. And because I want to see where we're at, right? I want to see them expose our warts. So when these games count, right now we already have those issues fixed and we're not figuring it out on the fly. And so beating two quality opponents out the gate, obviously is a big testament to our hard work over the offseason and both players and coaches, and obviously shows the potential of what we can be if we keep getting better each week.
So where do you feel like you're at right now after this 2-0 start?
Sitting in a great spot. So obviously, we feel like we're right on schedule. I did feel as if North Cobb, and just being transparent, was probably going to be the toughest. It's going to tell us truly where we really were. I know Walton lost some talent, so I figured we'd be a little bit better than they were. But North Cobb was a true test, especially with the quarterback they had. Coach Queen has been there forever, so they have a culture, continuity amongst their staff. They always have good players. I mean, it's a solid program. And so I knew that was the test. I think our players understood that as well. And I'm glad we met the challenge.
Before we do a little bit of a deeper dive on your talent, and you had some guys get off to great starts this season, just a little bit about you. As I mentioned before, you were at Westlake. You got to the semifinals with Westlake. You were at Griffin. You got to the quarterfinals with the Bears. But then you made the jump to the college game, and you were at UCF, and then you were with the Florida Gators before you came back to the high school game. So what brought you back to the state of Georgia and the high school game after it looked like maybe you were gonna go that route with your career in the college game?
Yeah, that was definitely, I'd be untruthful and disingenuous if I didn't say college was my dream, right? And so when I got there, it made me realize how happy I truly was as a high school coach. I truly enjoyed being a part of a community, helping players go from their freshman to their senior year and seeing the progression of their development, right? I miss the genuine authenticity of the high school relationships. I think college is straight business now, especially with all the money involved, NIL, the portal, you're married to the job, your quality of life isn't as good as an assistant coach anymore. And so it's a different beast. And then also, to be frank, it would have taken an elite job for me to come back though. I was still in a good spot. I was at the SEC or in the SEC at Florida. McEachern was that elite job. I always had my eye on it. Even when I was the head coach at Westlake. And I always respected and admired, the resources, the facilities, the tradition, the history, everything that it encompasses, right? And so when they came calling, I had to kick the tires on it.
Sure.
It made sense for me. It gave me an opportunity to have stability. I moved a couple times when I was in college in a short period of time, and that wasn't too fun. But you have to be mobile and willing to go where the opportunity is if you want to move up on that level. So for me, this allowed me to set some roots back down in a place that I truly love living, in the metro Atlanta area, and be at a great program.
So typically when I talk about a team, we start doing a kind of a little breakdown. I'm going to start offense and start quarterback, but I want to start with your defense because your defense has been extraordinary these first two games. You gave up 168 total yards to a Walton team. And then against North Cobb, you shut those guys out. I think you had 2 interceptions of Teddy Gerard, their junior quarterback who's committed to Notre Dame. So he's a real talent. You also sacked him a couple of times. I think Braden Matthews had 3 TFL for you in the game on Friday night. Talk about your defense and what has been so successful about your defense, and in particular, who's really stood out for you on the defensive side of the ball.
I think it starts with, our coaches. Our staff has done an excellent job of really scheming up our opponents and putting our players in positions to be successful. We try to get our best 11 players out there on the field at all times. And so we've gotten creative with some packages that we put together just to try to get 11 guys on the field that we know will go hunt, right? I think also we have a ton of experience on that side of the ball. That's where the majority of our seniors are. And so I think I have 8 seniors on my D-line. So my front is pretty experienced and they played a lot of football. And then obviously, we're really athletic on the back end at corner and at safety. We could cover people up, which allows us to really take some chances and put pressure on you with our front because now we can blitz you because we know we can hold up on the back end. And so I think a part of it is a combination of coaching, scheme, and obviously players, right? I did bring some of what I learned on the college level here to McEachern defensively. I sat in a room at Florida with some great minds. Same thing at UCF. And then I married it with what I've done in the past as well. And so it's been good. And it allows us a lot of versatility and ways to unlock our players and let them go have some fun.
Who would you say has had the most influential impact on your coaching career, however that may be, from a philosophy standpoint, from a way you conduct your practices, off the field, whatever it may be? Who has had the most influential impact on your coaching career?
I think there's 3 people that definitely influenced me the most. I can't just name one because I've worked for a number of guys and played for multiple coaches. But first and foremost, Coach George O'Leary was my college coach. Hard-nosed, tough guy. Everybody knows him here in Atlanta. He was at Georgia Tech for a long time, actually. But he's my college coach. He was hard, but he was fair. And he had a standard. He didn't take any excuses. He held us accountable. He made us really, really tough. And it wasn't always fun playing for him, but as an adult, you understand and you appreciate the lessons that he gave us as young men. So I kind of model my program kind of how he did when I was at UCF and I played for him. Now my application is a little bit different because he had a little bit more of a rough around the edges application. He's very direct, but
Not a lot of warm and fuzzy with George.
Not a lot of warm and fuzzies at all. But I got the message, right? The second person I would say that I really learned a lot from was Coach Napier at Florida. When I went there, I just saw how he handled people. He's a very patient man. He's very intentional. He thinks things through a lot. He doesn't rush to make decisions. That's something I learned, his patience, right? And even through that rough first year that we had, he was always the same guy every single day when he walked in that building. And that was really calming and steadying for us as a staff, and I'm sure for the players as well. And so I learned a lot from him just from his organization, right? He was really structured. Everything had a reason to why we did it, right? And so I took that with me when I came here. And then the last person was Sean Spencer, who's the defensive line coach at Florida that I work with. He's at Texas A&M now, just as a defensive line coach, and just how he handled players. Learned a ton from him as well. So I'd say those 3 guys influenced me the most.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Billy Napier. I agree with everything you say about Billy, and I'm glad to see that it looks like things have started to turn back in his favor a little
Mhm.
bit. I mean, my goodness, when you're coaching in the SEC, you know how hot that seat gets, and his was
Oh
pretty
yeah,
hot. So hopefully they're going to get ready to have a big 2025. I know Georgia Bulldog fans don't like to hear those kind of things, but just from a personal standpoint, how much I like
right,
Billy Napier and respect him, I hope that works out for him this year for sure.
for sure.
How about sticking with your defense real quick? You got a couple of guys over there pretty highly rated in
Mhm.
Daryl Rivers, who committed to Tennessee in June, and then Zakir Abdul Salam, who's not committed to anybody but has a number of offers. I think 15 plus offers, and guys like
Mhm.
Georgia Tech and Tennessee and Texas A&M looking at him.
Yeah, I mean, Darrell Rivers is an elite prospect just from his measurables alone. He's 6 foot 4.5, 6'5", 270 pounds, has 35-inch arms. I mean, that kid has unbelievable upside. He's just a blank canvas, and he's only going to get better. I wish I had him another year. But from what he's done since the time he's gotten here, he's night and day in terms of the type of player he is from his junior year to his senior year. Really having a hell of a year for us and just learning the game. And Tennessee got him a good one now, and he's going to a guy that's going to really develop him and Coach Rodney Garner. And we'll see what happens. If he continues to develop, he'll make money playing this game. Zakir is a kid that's been a 3-year starter for us now. Started for me as a sophomore, a technician. He's a coach's dream, right? He does everything right. He's always on time. He's accountable. He's coachable as heck, and he understands conceptually what we're trying to do from the back to the front. So one day he's going to make a great coach when he's done playing. And then there's a number of other guys like you mentioned Braden Matthews, who's
Right.
committed to Jacksonville State. He had a heck of a game. I think they're getting a steal there with him. Our junior linebacker Makai Rose, kind of the heart and soul of our team as well, number 7. He's going to be, he has another year left after this, so he's going to be a big time player down the line here as well on the next level. And then in the back end, obviously, everybody knows about Casey Barner.
Yeah.
He's elite, right? So really good safety, but Keontae Ingram and Ja'Kai Hackney, our other two safeties, also make a ton of plays for us. Nazir Banks had a pick in the game as well, number 12. He's our nickel. And then we have two elite corners in Nash Johnson, who got offered by Alabama over the summer, and Caden Battle, who has a bunch of G5 and Power 5 offers as well. So we have some really talented players across the board on our defense.
Yes, no doubt. It's been manifested in what you've been able to do the first couple of weeks against a couple of offenses that are expected to be really good this year. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you're off to a great start defensively, and I think that's where it always starts. We always, like I said, I always start with offense, but really, truth of the matter is defense has been a huge story for you these first couple of weeks. Let's talk about Casey real quick. I mean, my goodness, has there been a more impactful sophomore first 2 weeks of the 2025 season than Casey? 5-star. He's rated as high as the number one safety in the country for 2028. An explosive first game against Walton. And of course, made it even more explosive was the fact that it was on television, so everybody saw it. 353 all purpose yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. I saw where you compared him to Eric Berry, and I had the great pleasure of calling Eric Berry games in high school and college. And I just say wow, because Eric Berry is one of the top 5 greatest players I ever saw play high school football in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, he gives me, those vibes. He also reminds me a little bit of Tyrann Mathieu with his instincts, right?
That's
Just
good too.
always, yeah, always making a play, just always around the ball. May not even sometimes he's not even supposed to be where he is, but he's just so instinctive, like, coach, I saw it. And so, you kind of want to let him be free, but he's still a young player. He's still learning the game. Um, but man, is he special with the ball in his hands for sure. And so that's why, we try to give it to him as many ways as possible when he's not playing defense. We're going to figure it out on special teams for sure. And then offensively, he'll definitely touch it there as well because he's dynamic.
He is dynamic, and I saw where he said his comparable is a little bit more recent than Eric Berry, which for guys like us, I mean that
Like,
instantly resonates, and like I
yeah.
said, that really hits me big because I saw Eric Berry and called games with Eric Berry. But, he talked about Caleb Downs, who's at Ohio State. He talked about Travis Hunter, of course, who was at Collins Hill and then Colorado and now at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you see his future? He's listed as a number one safety, and I know we're a long way out from all that because he's just in 10th grade. Do you see his future on that side of the ball, or do you see him as, an offensive player, or could he possibly even do the Travis Hunter thing in college?
I think he's definitely going to be a defensive guy. He's very aggressive. He's a physical, hard hitting safety. Again, I think Tyrann Mathieu is
The
kind of
Honey
a good.
Badger.
Yeah, because Tyrann Mathieu had value in the return game as well, right, in college, and made a lot of plays on special teams there. So, um, and so yeah, I think defense is. I'd say this: if he wants to make a lot of money, play defense, right?
Right.
Offense, you can find a bunch of offensive guys that it's easy to catch touchdowns and stuff like that. Everybody loves to do that, but if you can defend people and take the ball away and then return it when you get it on special teams, you could play a long time. So I think that's where his future is.
You guys have generated over 70 points in your first two games, again against Walton and North Cobb. And then pretty extraordinary as you've done this with three of your, or rather two of your highly rated offensive players haven't even played yet because of injury. Jarion Campbell, the running back who's committed to Indiana, and Nayland Scott, the wide receiver who's committed to Nebraska. Before I ask about working those guys back in once they're healthy and able to play. Let's talk about Henry Poland, who's rushed for over 300, right close to 330 yards his first two games, had a huge game over 200 plus against North Cobb the other day and scored all three touchdowns for you. Here's a guy that we talk about Campbell, we talk about Scott. These are highly rated guys, power conference offers. Henry looks like he's kind of a make that kid an offer kind of guy. He's still out there in the recruiting world, and he's still looking for that home. So talk about Henry and his value to your program, and just how big he's been for you these first couple of weeks.
Henry is a special player. Henry's a really good running back. He's probably one of the best I have been around, have coached on the high school level. He's really, the thing that's unfortunate for him is that he played previously in an offense that it was a little bit hard to evaluate his skill set. And so I think that's what's kind of hindered his recruiting.
Gotcha.
But when people came and saw him in the spring, they were like, we see 10, but who's 4? And they were like, he's really good. And I was like, yeah, he's really good. And they're like, what offers does he have? And I'm like, he doesn't have anything right now. And people are scared to be first, which is crazy to me. But nonetheless, I always say, believe your eyes, trust your eyes. And I tell those recruiters that all the time. But, everybody's afraid to be wrong, right? And so nonetheless, he's put on, I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's done everything in game that we saw in practice. So I knew he was going to have a big year. And with the increased workload that he's now, receiving because of the injuries, he's making the most of those opportunities. And I was so proud of him on Friday night, man. Like, he was literally throwing up at halftime. He carried the ball about at that point it might have been about 19 times in that first half, and he was exhausted. He busted a big run right before the half. I think it was like a 66-yarder touchdown that he ran. And so he gave us everything he had. We knew we were going to have to lean on him that night to kind of bring it home, and he answered the call. And so I was really, really proud of him. But I think he has a chance if he stays healthy this year, and we're going to try to keep him upright to, really break some records here possibly and put up some huge numbers.
Yeah, he's easily on pace for over 1,000 yards, maybe a 1,500 yard season, and depending upon how long you play, even bigger than that. I know ultimately the team goal is the big thing, but the individual stuff goes hand in hand with the team. The individuals are successful, the team's successful. Just a little bit about recruiting, and you're very familiar with that part of the game. How beautiful it is to have guys that are highly rated guys who are power conference guys because they get coaches on your campus, and it opens up the door for a guy who perhaps has been underevaluated, or he was at another school and didn't get seen. And so it's a nice relationship in that guys show up to see your big time guys and then discover guys who may end up being big time guys, just haven't been found yet.
For sure, and that's what we tell our players all the time, the guys that aren't as, ballyhooed and doesn't have the spotlight. I said, "You come to practice every single day and you put the work in, somebody's gonna see you because of,
That's right.
especially in the springtime, of all the attention that we have." Schools across the country know when they come to Atlanta area, they have to make a stop here. And so, you're gonna get opportunity because of the platform you're on if you do right and you take advantage of the opportunities given with our program. And so, yeah, it's definitely that's a perk of being a McEachern Indian for sure.
And it's only going to take that one guy. How many times how many times have we seen that where everybody's kind of holding back, but that one program makes him an offer and then that opens up the floodgates because, I've seen it happen with Dell McGee at Georgia State. He's a master at going out and finding guys who
Yep.
are these under recruited guys and he makes him an offer and then all of a sudden everybody else starts piling on. They're like, well, Dell likes him.
Nah,
He must be really good.
no
So,
doubt.
so that's
And it's honestly how it goes too, which is kind of ridiculous, but
it is
that's
the
how
way
it
it
is.
goes. It is the way it goes. It's a copycat league, kind of like they say. Talk about your quarterback, Calvin Pittman, through your first 2 weeks, what you've seen from Calvin so far. And he's, of course, like we said, he hasn't had all his weapons at his disposal yet. And then he had, a big part of his job was handing the ball to Henry the other night. But what have you seen from Calvin?
Nah, CJ has done a nice job, just managing the offense, getting us into, good spots and just controlling the tempo of the game, doing what we asked him to do. He had a few mistakes in that first game, but I think, those are things that he's going to learn from and get better, as the season goes on. Like he's willing to do whatever we need to do to win. And so, the first game he threw it, I think 29 times. This week he threw it 8 times,
Yeah.
right? And we still won. So either way, he's happy. I think the part of his game that's really gonna take us to the next level as well as his running ability, right? And so as we incorporate, the quarterback run game even more in our game plan is going to make us even more dangerous and dynamic offensively. And so, I'm proud of the way he's managed it, the team to this point, and we just got to keep it rolling.
You mentioned the 29 pass attempts against Walton. 6 of those went for completions to your freshman wide receiver, Ja'Cory Shockley, who had 118 yards receiving, a touchdown there against Walton. And here's a young man. He's in ninth grade. He's only played a couple of games varsity. He's already got 8+ offers, including Michigan. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I know you got to be excited about what the future holds for Ja'Cory.
For sure. We have a number of young players in our program that are really highly ranked, and so the future is really, really bright for McEachern. Our next Q, whoever comes in or whoever takes the job, is going to have a lot of toys to play with for a while. So, definitely excited for those guys' future and the future of the program.
Well, we mentioned you've beaten Walton, you've beaten North Cobb. You continue kind of your Cobb County non-region run here. This coming Friday night, you got Marietta coming to town. That's another longtime rival for
Mhm.
McEachern. I think this will be the 38th all-time meeting. You beat them their first 2 years that you've been there at McEachern. They both of them have been one-score games. Of course, they've got a new head coach they brought in from the state of Florida. So, what are you expecting out of Marietta? They're off to a little bit of a difficult start, 0-2. You could certainly empathize, sympathize with that with the new coach. You went through the same thing your first couple of years. What are you expecting out of the Blue Devils on Friday night?
I think anytime you play a rival game, you could throw the records out the window. Those kids are going to come ready to play and play hard. I have seen that on tape from them. Coach Duke is doing a good job of just trying to instill a culture and a standard for how they're going to play the game. I think over time they'll be fine. He's a good coach. I know where he's from. I'm a Florida guy as well, so I understand completely, what program he came from and what he's done there in the Orlando area. So, I definitely think we have our work cut out for us. We're going to have to make sure we continue to attack our preparation in the same manner as we did the first 2 weeks to ensure that we have success on Friday night. There's not going to be any let up from us as coaches. We're going to keep emphasizing the details of our game. And I tell our players all the time, we have a nameless and faceless opponent every week. It's about McEachern being the best version of McEachern every single week, no matter who we play. And so that's what we're going to emphasize with our players. And it's a rivalry game at the end of the day. They say it's the battle of the real MHS. And
Yeah.
so our players won't need a whole lot of motivation to play these guys anyway. So we'll just keep it rolling.
I tell you what, what you've done so far this year, the 2-0 start, And with the great legacy and tradition of McEachern, I know a lot of people are believing that the Indians are back. Like you said, you'll leave that up to the media. But I tell you what, people are impressed, and it's one of the big stories so far here in the opening couple of weekends of the Georgia high school football season. Best of luck as you go for that 3-0 start this Friday night. Look forward to catching up with you later in the season. Thanks.
I appreciate it, Matt, man. Thank you for having me on.
Final seconds ticking off here. McEachern's going to get a 50-17 win over Walton. Major statement being made by third-year coach here at McEachern, Kareem Reid with the Indians.
Like, follow, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. Thanks for joining us this week. Always great to catch up with McEachern coach Kareem Reid. Looking forward to seeing what those guys do the rest of the season, expecting very big things from the Indians. Let's take a look at the latest recruiting news for the week. Langston Hughes senior linebacker Keyshawn Braxton committed to Eastern Michigan over 8+ other offers, including Georgia State and Wake Forest. I really like Braxton a lot. I've seen him a number of times in person. Kid just makes plays all over the place at linebacker. So big pickup for Eastern Michigan getting him. Air Force picked up 2 commitments in Middle Georgia. Peach County senior safety Bryson Hughley over 6+ offers, including UAB and App State. Westside Macon senior cornerback Paul Risper also committed to Air Force. Now, before we go, let's take a look ahead to this weekend's biggest games. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them here in week 3. Starting with number 5 on my list, you have private class number 3, Prince Avenue. At 4A, number 5, Blessed Trinity. Both teams are off to 2-0 starts. Second all-time meeting, BT, a 23-21 winner last year in Athens. Recruiting, top-ranked players for the Wolverines, junior 4-star Andrew Beard, rated as high as the number 11 running back in 2027. And for the Titans, junior 5-star David Jacobs. You might remember his dad played for the Georgia Bulldogs, rated as high as the number 1 edge in 2027. That's right, the number 1 edge rusher in the entire country. Number 4 on my list, I got 4A, number 3, Kell. At 5A, Sequoia. Both teams are off to 2-0 starts. The Chiefs have won 13 of their last 15 games. This is the 6th all-time meeting. Kell leads 3-2, but Sequoia was a 24-21 winner last year. Recruiting top-ranked players, Longhorns, 4-star senior Braden Rouse committed to Tennessee. Over 45+ offers and rated as high as the number 4 linebacker in 2026. Expect to see Braden Rouse playing on both sides of the ball. He's a big factor for the Kell Longhorns on offense as well. And Chiefs 3-star senior running back Will Rajecki committed to Memphis, over 15+ offers, including Kansas State. Number 3 on my list, DeSoto, Texas at 4A, 4th-ranked Creekside. Seminoles playing another out-of-state opponent after improving to 2-0 last week with a 32-0 win at Florida's 7A Seminole High School. DeSoto is ranked 6th in Texas 6A rankings and beat Creekside 70-0 out there last year. And you might remember the Seminoles then rebounded from that devastating or seemingly devastating loss and did not lose again until they fell to Marist 27-21 in the state semifinals. Recruiting, top-ranked players for the Eagles, that's 4-star senior Booby Feaster, committed to USC and ranked as high as the number 3 wide receiver in 2026. And for Creekside, it's 3-star senior safety Sean Williams, who's committed to Florida Atlantic, over 23+ offers, including South Florida. Number 2 on my list, back to the state of Georgia and a big battle in 6A with number 8 Colquitt County at number 7 North Gwinnett. Neither played last week. Packers 1-0, and their game with Monroe was canceled because of weather after they'd opened their season with a last-second field goal win over Benedictine the first week of the season. Bulldogs are 0-1. They did not play last week after a 21-7 loss to number 2 Douglas County in the Corky Kell Dave Hunter Classic. This is the 9th all-time meeting with Colquitt, leading 5-3. These two teams have some history. Bulldogs were 14-3 winners at Moultrie last year. And in the biggest game ever between these two teams, North Gwinnett beat Colquitt County on a last-second field goal, 19-17, in the 2017 state championship game. Recruiting top-ranked players, Packers 4-star senior Jay Lamar, committed to Georgia and rated as high as the number 11 running back in 2026. And for the Bulldogs, 3-star senior Zachary Lewis also committed to Georgia, rated as high as the number 29 interior offensive lineman in 2026. So North Gwinnett, you got Zachary Lewis, who one day will be blocking for Colquitt County running back Jay Lamar in the red and black. Number 1 on my list, the Thompson, Alabama, playing at the 6A Grayson Rams. Rams off to a 2-0 season start after their victory over Raven Gap this past Friday night, while the Warriors are 1-0, and like Grayson, they're the number 1 ranked team in their highest classification in their respective state. Grayson 6A in Georgia, and Thompson number 1 7A in Alabama. Thompson is the defending state champions in Alabama. In fact, they've won the state title every year but 2023 since 2019. So they've won 5 of the last 6 state titles in the highest classification in the state of Alabama. Grayson's current 16-game winning streak started with a 15-14 overtime win at Thompson last August when the Rams went for 2 in the win in overtime. Recruiting, the highest-ranked players for Grayson, of course, that senior 5-star Tyler Atkinson, committed to Texas and rated as high as the number 1 linebacker in 2026. We'll wait and see if he plays in this game. He's yet to play in the first 2 games for the Rams this season because of injury. For Thompson, it's 4-star junior Trent Seaborn, rated as high as the number 7 quarterback in the class of 2027. Other games to keep your eyes on this week, got a couple of big ones in 3A. Number 1, Sandy Creek playing at number 7, LaGrange. Number 5, Cherokee Bluff at number 3, North Hall. And in single A, got a big one in South Georgia as D1 number 10 Swainsboro plays at D2 number 2 Metter. So that'll do it. Watch on YouTube, listen on Apple, iHeart, or Spotify. Like, follow, and subscribe, and please share with a friend. And we'll see you next week on the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast.